going up on the mountain. I ain't coming down till morning. I'm going up on the mountain. I ain't coming down.
Hello and welcome to Goose Chats. We're so glad you're here and joining me today. If you don't know, my name is Brittany Sweeney. I'm the communications manager here at the Livestock Conservancy. I'm here by myself today because Jeanette and I went up to the Ohio National Poultry Show earlier in November, and we recorded some awesome conversations we had with some breeders up there. We talked to turkey people, we talked to goose people, we talked to chicken and duck people, and we've just got so many exciting interviews to share with you. We had such a great time, and it was such an amazing show. It was my first time going to a poultry show. Oh, Jeanette's going to join us. Hi, Jeanette.
Hey there.
I was just telling everybody that we went up to the Ohio National Poultry Show, and it was my first show, and I had such a great time.
Yeah, no, it's funny. At lunchtime, I was talking with one of our coworkers who just came back from LA to see the BTS concert, and I was thinking, yeah, but I went to the Ohio National. Yeah, I love that show. It brings out the best of the best with the breeders, and if you want an education in poultry breeding, you go to the Ohio National. It's pretty amazing. And what really stunned me this year was the quality of waterfowl that were there. They were just unbelievable.
They were gorgeous. I fell in love with all of them, and I couldn't bring any home. So. Not for lack of trying.
Yep. Yeah, but it was a fabulous show, and it was sure great to be back live in person at chicken shows, poultry shows.
Absolutely. Well, while we were there, we talked to Laura Huey, who was this amazing Sebastopol breeder, and she is the president of the National Sebastopol Geese Association, which is super exciting. So we've got about a 30-minute interview to show you guys and share with everyone so you can learn all about Sebastopol geese. I learned so much. She's amazing. And but before we jump into that, I'm going to play our ManaPro video. A big thank you to ManaPro for sponsoring Goose Month this month. We appreciate you and your support. And then afterward, Jeanette and I will take questions. And I think Laura is actually on, she's listening in through Facebook. Thanks for joining us, Laura. We're so glad you're here. And she can answer any questions you might have if you put them in the chat at the end. She's amazing. All right, well, I'm going to jump into this ManaPro video, and then I'm going to put on Laura.
Champions, colleagues, roommates, and personal trainers. Whatever role they play, they're an important part of our lives. In their quiet way, and their not-so-quiet way, they keep us young, on our feet, on the go. They pull us back to nature and push us toward the next adventure. And as much as we count on them, they count on us all the more. To nurture their lives with the same commitment, to protecting them, helping them grow and thrive. Treating them as well as they treat us, by giving them a little more of our lives. Because no matter what role they play, out here or in here, we're here to make their lives the best they can be. ManaPro, nurturing life.
Yes, thank you, ManaPro. All right, let's talk to Laura.
Hi, everybody. My name is Laura Huey. I am located in mid-Michigan. Right now, currently, I have 11 Sebastopols that I breed. I breed whites, buffs, grays, and the occasional blue splash that I get. I also have, my farm name is Eastwind Sebastopols. I am also the president and co-founder of the National Sebastopol Goose Association that was founded in The thought was started in 2016. It actually came together and formatted in 2017. We have multiple meets throughout the states. I do believe this year this is makes number 12 or 13 for us as far as our meet for the year. We do district meets, state meets, and national meets. I got started with Sebastopols because of, and excuse me if I tear up, because of my mother. In 2011, she became disabled and was unable to continue working. She had chickens, and then she went to a local poultry show in Michigan, and she fell in love with the breed. I think it took her about a year, and then she finally got a pair. I still have her oldest, or her first bird. His name's Sylvester. He's about 10 years old. And anybody that goes on the Facebook pages or my Eastlands page, they'll hear all about Sylvester because he's a character and a half. But anyways, my mom started out with 3 or 4 of them, and then she started wanting to do eggs and breeding and hatching. As her disabilities continued and her eyesight depleted, I stepped in and got mentored and kind of took over helping with the incubation. Then we wanted to kind of get rid of some of these guys that we had collected, and something that I was taught in 4-H and breeding dogs, that as a breeder, you don't know what to put on them without, as far as a price, without knowing what your quality is. So I decided to go to my first Michigan show. That was in fall of 2016. And I mean, as a previous 4-H'er, I was hooked instantly, hooked. So I got a hold of some of my friends and mentors and started asking the question, why don't we have more of these? Then my gears started turning. And here we are now with what is it, 17, 18, 19, 20, going into our 5th year with the National Sebastopol Goose Association. The association is geared towards mentorship, towards every enthusiast of the Sebastopols. You don't have to be an exhibitor. You don't have to be a full-blown breeder or anything like that. It's just literally to bring the Sebastopol community together, to help educate, to help promote the breed. Our focus is to getting, we want to have good quality birds, but we also know that there's not those good quality birds out there, and we do recognize those just the same. Just like meat, everybody gets their start somehow, some way. And if anybody knows the equation of chicken math, it happens with geese too. So I have here Sophia with me. She was hatched last year, December, in mid-Michigan. She was raised in a garage for 4 months until I could get her outside. So that's why she's my little doll. She just got lectured because she's trying to nest. Not in mid-Michigan. No, I'm not doing that again. So that's who I am. What I'm geared towards, I'm here to help anybody and answer any question that anybody ever needs. Who did I learn from? So one of my largest mentors, honestly, was my mom. And one of her largest mentors was a good friend of hers down in Missouri. Her name's Barb Rudolph. She's unable to exhibit or anything like that, but she's the one that taught me the most that I know about. I've also talked to numerous other breeders, because one thing is what I do is different from what my neighbor might do compared to what somebody on the East Coast might do, to the South, to the West, because climate does affect things. What feed is accessible can even affect things. So I talk to so many people and try to gear and learn towards not only Sebastopol breeders, but waterfowl breeders in the same, because talking to them has helped me out a lot with my genetics, incubation, different tips and tricks. And it's, you see somebody doing something, you're just like, wow, what a great idea. There's obviously, we go by the APA, American Poultry Association breed standard. The standard, it's a little on the vague side, but it paints a good picture as far as what the bird should look like. So one of the things is, with your heads, you want a nice rounded head. You don't want one that kind of, let me switch arms here. Oh, easy. Hey, you're fine. You're fine. Oh, yes, I know. So with her, she has a pretty decent head. I'd like to see more of what we like to say apple shaped, where it's got a nice dome to it. Their bills, you want them to kind of not really ski slope down. You want to have a nice grade in between them. I guess that's the right verbiage. You don't want swan necks. A lot of people look at the more feathering there is, the better the bird, but that's not necessarily true. I advise a lot of people to look at their birds. Actually, the best time to look at them is when they're molting and they don't have a lot of feathering, because you can actually see their body structure by that. Obviously, the longer the feathering, the better. The more profuse feathering, the better. The wider, the thicker. All of that is the better. You want to see a lot of chest curl. She's in the middle of, I don't know, like a third molt and trying to nest. So she's not really, but you want to have a nice chest curl. The higher up the throat you can go, the better off. Good wings, that's a whole nother topic on the wings. I'm not even going to start there. The body, you kind of want to have like an oval shape to it. Where I say oval, kind of a football type shape with blunt ends, essentially, is the way that I interpret it and what I look for. Everybody's going to have their own as to what they want. Oval from the top, oval from the sides, oval from the bottoms. Orange bill, orange feet is the preferred and desired. You do see some pink out there, but the standard does say for orange. Myself personally, the first thing I look at is the body structure. A Sebastopol takes at least a good 3 to potentially even 5 years to reach their full feathering potential. Like I said, this girl is about a year old, and her feathering is very less to be desired. But being as she was fully feathered out in the spring, I know what I have looking forward to once she grows and matures. So what I look for, the biggest things that I look for is I look for the head, which is one of the biggest things that I've needed to improve on, is my head and my body structure. The feathering, I can deal with it. I look for, when they're growing out, really thin, wispy type feathering here, as somebody stated in a article that was written, like wet toilet paper isn't desired. I know. And I think she's getting a little warm, so I'm actually going to put her down. And she is starting to get a little heavy at the moment. Here, baby girl. Oh, Dad's a good girl. Yes. So what I may look for is different than what other people look for. But those are the biggest things that I look for, is the head and the body structure. Feathering, I wing it because it takes them so long to come into their feathering. My personal opinion, the most challenging is they have a very short window for conditioning for showing. The conditioning of the feathers and the quality of the feathering, I think that's one of the most challenging. Being in mid-Michigan, I get a lot of rain. The mud can be quite challenging. For example, on a Thursday, I walked out and it looked like somebody went to the honey pot like Winnie the Pooh with his chest. It's 6 o'clock at night doing chores, and I'm supposed to leave at like 4 o'clock in the morning for a show. So that's one of the biggest things, I think, is just keeping, clean water accessible to them. It's really not hard. You don't bathe them. It's really not hard to get them into show condition. Lots of clean water for bathing, lots of clean drinking water, good feed. So they're really not as hard to maintain as what people really think they are. Any tips for coming over those challenges as far as mud, et cetera, like that? One thing that I personally found is a lot of people will take and figure out a way to like put their swimming pools, because a lot of them use pools, not ponds. Sebastopols really aren't that go swim type bird. They're more of a get in and splash around and get back out. But something that I've done is I found these little, like flooring grate type things, and I'll put those down. And the one time that I had it, it's now mud now, but I had an old pool and I put it on top of my swimming pool where there was a bunch of sand. My water stayed a lot cleaner with the sand because the sand sifted to the bottom of the water rather than making it all mucky. That's one thing that I do. So, as I stated previously, for the feathering, it can take us about 3 to 5 years to fully feather out. That's what I've been taught. That's kind of what I've seen too. But as far as a mature bird for breeding purposes, that you're going to get a little bit of a different answer for depending on what location you're in. The warmer temperatures, they could be getting birds that are breeding and getting hormonal before what, say, I would in Michigan. Last year I had a real doozy. I had a 4-month-old laying eggs and they were actually fertile. So I guess in my opinion, it really can depend on the bird. If they're going to be ready, they can be ready. But in general aspect, their first breeding season, which is usually your late winter to early spring months, that's when you're going to get the full breeding potentials. And if you really want to increase your fertility, it really helps to allow them to breed in water. So I keep my pools open all year round in mid-Michigan. Because Sebastopols can be a little tricky to hatch. I've heard the number thrown out there, 25% hatch rate, and you're doing something right. The temperament of the Sebastopol, my experiences have been, I'm sorry, she's trying to nest, I'm laughing. But anyways, my experience with the Sebastopol temperaments is it really depends on how you start them out. With people, I always incubate my eggs. So the first thing they see is me. I hand feed them, I hand raise them, I'm with them as much as absolutely possible. They follow me around the yard. I am mom. Now, that's not to say that as they grow, they don't become kind of what I like to say is that teenager that has all their independence and don't need mom anymore. And then we become hormonal, so that kind of changes the whole realm of things. My December baby from last year, he has become a little bit of a challenge because he is hormonal and he's just doing what's natural to him. There's nothing that we can really do to stop it. Some of your hens are a little bit more offstandish. Some of your ganders are a little bit more offstandish. In general, the Sebastopol really does have an easygoing temperament. They're quiet. A lot of people say that they're just one of the friendliest birds out there. But again, it depends on how you raise them. It is possible to have your gander fights. So I always recommend that people keep their ganders separated, especially during breeding season. We put blood, sweat, tears, everything into these birds. The last thing we want to do is put them in danger, whether it be from predators or whether it be from other ganders. I personally coop mine up, tight as a drum every night because of predators. I have different predator issues than what somebody out west have. They may have bigger predators than what I do. But even still, these guys are flightless. So they're really vulnerable. I can't say that today. They're really prone to being, a target for predators because they can't get that flight and can't get that jump away from predators. So it's really advisable to make sure that they have their own space where they're safe and secure. And the biggest issues that Sebastopols have is, and this is a debate of time, everybody's going to have their own opinion on it. It's what we as Sebastopol breeders call twisted wingtip. It's not a form, it's a deformity of the wing in the aspects of the bottom joint. And I can actually show you here what I'm kind of talking about. She's not twisted. Her wings are fine, but on the Sebastopol, yep, on the Sebastopol, and I've got videos of this too where I talk about it in depth as they're growing on the National Sebastopol Geese Association Facebook page and website, etc., like that. So on a typical angel wing and a bird, you're going to have the whole entire wing flipping out. Twisted wingtip in Sebastopols is literally, I know, honey, this very, 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 very bottom joint right here that will twist out, and it will literally just kind of flip out like that. It's a debate as to whether it has to do with protein levels, or whether it's genetic, or whether it's because of the curly and curly gene. Everybody has their own opinion about it, but that's one of the biggest challenges that I've come across and talking with other breeders that we face as far as with the Sebastopols is that twisted wingtip, as we call it. Okay. So during breeding season, they just got really loud. During breeding season, I really don't do anything different with their diet. The only additional thing that I might add is a little bit of corn, because Sebastopols are seasonal layers, and I've been taught that corn will help, and just little bits, corn will help produce heat. Being in Mid-Michigan, I can get in those negatives. So just a little bit. Otherwise, everybody has their own routines. Myself specifically, what I do is I basically, I keep my pools open all year long to help fertility. When I start, I incubate everything. I don't ship goslings out. I don't ship eggs. Eggs in general for shipping are just kind of a little, But so at the beginning of breeding season, I'll watch the eggs. I'll watch their mating. I actually have 9 sitting in my basement right now. I'll usually take the first couple and crack them open, see if there's a bullseye, which you'll see for fertility, whether they're fertilized or not. Otherwise, it's just like, okay, I guess we're firing up the incubator. Now. Diets, I don't change the diets. They are seasonal, usually from maybe like late December, depending on your climate. And I've had them lay all the way to where my latest hatch was the 4th of July weekend. You can expect to see, on average, from a mature goose, 30 to 40 eggs per goose. A good ratio, again, everybody has their own ways of doing things. I've had pairs, I've had trios, I've had quads, I've had one gander over 5 hens, and I've done fine. That was last year. Previously, I've actually had trios, and it wasn't so much the gander being picky as to who he was going to breed. It was more so the other hen saying, no, he's my man. You're not touching him. So they can be picky and choosy. They really aren't lifelong breeders. They, as far as being monogamous, sometimes not. It just depends on the gander. So to prepare the show of one of these Sebastopols, there's not many people that will actually wash them, such as throw them in a bathtub or in a sink with soap and water. One of the biggest things, again, is the clean water for them to swim and bathe in. Whether that means 2-3 times a day changing your water. Sometimes you do have to do that. I think in my 6 years of showing, I've only bathed actually with soap and water a bird twice, and that was when I had 3-4 days of rain prior to. Really, there's not much more to it besides just conditioning a bird starts from the beginning. So you want to start with them when they're young. Make sure you're choosing good diets. You go to reputable, good breeders as far as for getting the quality birds. Not to say that nobody can't start with whatever you have. I always say, you don't know until you try. It's hard to describe one of these Sebastopols to somebody unless they come and they see this this sea of Sebastopols, and you look and you can stand and compare next to each other as far as, oh, okay, now I see what you're talking about. So that's one of the things that I always recommend for getting ready for showing is try to at least visit a show so that you know what you're looking at. Again, bathing is just all clean water, essentially. Some people do use what's called blowing in their water, or say shampoo for like the silver-haired ladies, the whitening shampoos, etc. like that. Some people do that. I have done that just because personally I'm not putting them in my bathtub to do that. So I just do it the best I can with clean water in their pools. Now, when it comes time for show, a lot of shows I always advise everybody just bring your essentials as far as, you know, your own feed. Water's usually provided. If you don't have anything to put water and feed in, you can usually purchase something for water and feed at the show. Bring some extra shavings, because on the cement, especially on the cement floors, they can make a mess with their water. They're waterfowl. And I have actually myself had one slip on the cement floor. It was my first year, didn't know any better, and she didn't walk for 2 weeks. So now I usually put about yay much shavings in the bottom of the cage. For transporting, they do really, really well transported in the plastic cages or crates or whatever you want to call them, dog kennels, compared to the wire ones, because again, this comes from experience. Break a blood feather in those wire kennels and you've got a bloody mess. But otherwise, the only other thing that I really do when I am showing my birds, and let me grab another one because she's getting a little frustrated now, is, come here, baby girl, come here. So basically what I'll do, and I've got a video out there of me prepping one of my birds for show too, at one of the shows, is essentially you never ever want to cut a feather, never. But basically you just take, and I just kind of comb through them like this. You can see here she's got a little bit of a broken feather. Sometimes those broken feathers can cause big knots in their featherings, and I'll just take them, and you'll see Sebastopol breeders, you'll see feathers all over the place sometimes doing this, but basically just kind of comb through them like we would our hair. Some people will take and use different products such as like Shoshine or, you know, something like that to help kind of just brighten them up a little bit. Some people will actually take and one thing that I do, and I didn't get to it today because I was sitting at our raffle table, is I'll take and put a little bit of Vaseline just on their bills. It just helps to brighten them up and revive them up. Their feet, sometimes you do get those really, really muddy feet, I know. And, you know, you'll take and maybe scrub those with a soft bristle toothbrush, washcloth, baby wipes, anything like that. I think somewhere here she had a feather that was a little messy. I will just take a baby wipe and do the best I can, because these guys, if you get them absolutely soaked, they really look like drowned rats, and it takes them about a good day and a half to dry out. So you don't want to do anything like that right before a show. If you are going to bathe your bird, it is recommended to do it at least, say if the show, you coop it on Friday, do it Tuesday, Wednesday, and then just keep them on the cleanest bedding, cleanest water, cleanest ground, etc. like that you can. And essentially good luck to keeping them clean, because they can be quite a handful with that. Yes, you're a good girl. You're a good girl. Yes. All right. Earlier, I talked about a good feed starting from the beginning. So it's highly recommended that as goslings, you start them out on chick starter, obviously, as most people do. And then with these guys especially, you want to try to get them over to, it's recommended at least a 16% protein level feed, somewhere right around 2 weeks of age. Everybody has their own ways of doing it. This is how I do it and how a lot of other people do it that I talk to. At 2 weeks of age, get them off the chick starter, start them on a 16%, ideally 16% protein level of the feed. Even still, my feed that I feed, it's a 15% protein level, and I cut mine about a, I don't know, maybe 50-50, 75-25 ratio with rolled steamed oats to help bring that protein level down just a little bit further, because as I stated, the wing issue, it's a debate of time as to whether or not it's protein or genetic or what it is. I myself feel that if they're going to develop it, they're going to develop it at any time. So it may just be something that's there too. I'm not an expert, but that's just my opinion. Your feeds are going to vary depending on what you have available. I drive up to about 4 or 5 hours every couple of months to get $70 some worth of feed, 5 bags of feed. I don't have that many on my property, so 5 bags of feed last me quite a while. There's several different brands of feed out there that are good. People feed all flock and cut it with oats and cut it with different things. But one of the biggest things as far as for their diet, and basically every goose out there, or a lot of the ducks and et cetera like that, is they're herbivores. So you want to make sure that you have a lot of pasture for them, a lot of green, because their main diet is grass. And there's also a lot of people out there that don't supplement with any feeds. They just let them have the grass. There may be supplement during the winter times when grass isn't as luxurious to them, and but that's one of their biggest diets. Mine get maybe, for a pen that has 5 in it, I give them maybe 2.5 cups every night, and that's about it. A lot of people will feed. There's Missouri feed out there. There's Nutrina. There's Purina. There's All Flock. There's all sorts of different feeds out there. It's just a matter of what you can find in your area that you can easily access. As if your interest has been perked on the Sebastopols, and you want to get started as a new person getting started with Sebastopols, as earlier in the video here, I stated that I'm the president and co-founder of the National Sebastopol Goose Association. That's a great place to start for information. The website is still in the works of being revamped. I'm hoping this year that we'll be able to have like a breeder directory, kind of a sort of classified ad on the website to where people can go to our members and what do you have available, etc., like that. So the website, www.nationalsebastopol.com, is where you can go for that. We also have our Facebook page. We have several Facebook groups out there geared for Sebastopol Geese. You can usually find me at every show that we are participating in as a club. Usually I'm at every show. Done a lot of miles this year. And so you can find me, or basically if you find any Sebastopols at a show or anything like that, you can find your show information at www.poultryshowcentral.com, and that'll give you a very good, thorough list of what shows are available in your area. And we're a pretty tight-knit community as far as the Sebastopols. If we can't help you out, or if I can't help you out, or Sandy can't help you out, or Susie can't help you out, usually they can point you in a direction as far as where you can go that might be the closest for you to be able to get birds, etc., like that. We're always looking for members. We're always looking for volunteers to help with the club. We're always trying to get more people exhibiting these birds. They have really, really become very popular within the show hall. We're also working on Sebastopols come in a variety of colors. We're also working on gearing towards another color being accepted into the American Poultry Association standard. It's in the very early phases, but we're starting on that. But again, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me anytime. Again, my name is Laura Huey, and you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on the website. You can call me. You can text me. You can email me. There's ways to get a hold of me, and if I can't help you, I can definitely either try to find the answer or point you in somebody else that might be able to give you the hands-on mentorship that you might require. And if you're not quite ready to dive into actually having Sebastopols on your property, then you just want to admire them from afar, we have just started these Sebastopol shirts. Right now, currently, we're at the Ohio National Poultry Show in Columbus, Ohio. We have some shirts available here. We're working on starting where you can order them. We also have on apparel now, and Zazzle, we have National Sebastopol gear, and you can find those links at the National Sebastopol website.
All right. Thank you, Laura, for sharing all that great, wonderful information about Sebastopols. I learned so much.
Yeah, you could be around animals, 5 days a week at work, and still you learn something new every time you meet a breeder that's been in it for a while. And I have to say, a few days ago, I was wearing my Sebastopol t-shirt that I bought at the show, and I cannot tell you how many people love that shirt. They're like, "Where'd you get that?" But they are available online now, aren't they?
They are. If you go to their website, that's nationalsebastopol.com. They are available. I just ordered mine. I can't wait till I get to your
Hell, surprise. Yeah.
That's right. Well, let's see if we have any questions while we're here. Hi, Jean. Thanks for joining us today. We're so glad you're here. And it looks like it's just a bunch of love from everybody. Mm-hmm. Laura says she's got 35 eggs in her incubator right now. So if anybody's looking for Sebastopols after this, please contact Laura. I'm sure she would like to move those out of her house and out of her incubator.
I'd also like to point out to folks, if you're interested in learning more about the breed's history, we have a wonderful piece on our website on the pages for Sebastopol. And there's a long history that was put together by Jonathan Thompson. And it's really quite interesting to read, and a lot of funny parts of the history. These birds they look delicate, but my gosh, the stories he came up with them coming to Europe for the first time was just amazing. These birds went through a lot in the early days. I strongly recommend folks to find those that article on our website. It was a lot of fun to read.
Let me see if I can find those and put a link up for everybody. Mm-hmm. I should have prepared.
I should also mention that having tried to help someone get some Sebastopols this year, plan ahead and plan early, because as Laura mentioned, they get more and more popular, and it's not as likely you can pick up the phone in springtime and order your Sebastopols. So you might want to plan now, talk to breeders now, get in the queue so you can get some goslings.
Absolutely. I just put the link up. If you go to our website, livestockconservancy.org, and if you go over to our heritage breeds section and then down to Geese and Sebastopol, you'll find the link to those articles. Mm-hmm. They are excellent reads. And yes, it is Goose Month, so think about ordering geese now so that you can have them in the spring.
Yeah, and Sebastopols aren't most people don't think about eating them per se, but goose in general is probably one of my favorite things to eat. And we do goose for Christmas, and not Sebastopols, but people get really intimidated with cooking because they can be quite expensive to buy, and then you don't want to risk ruining something you've just paid $70 for, $80 for. But goose really isn't all that hard to prepare, and there's a lot of good stuff on the internet now that helps guide you through. Or we have on Teachable, I believe, how to cook a goose with Ariane Dagon, Mother Goose herself, of of D'Artagnan Foods. And if you're interested in learning more about cooking geese, typically the kind of goose that you'd have on the table for Christmas is probably going to be an Emden, which has a lot more meat than a Sebastopol. But yeah, it's the most wonderful time of year for me because
Yes, they are delicious. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Cooking with goose fat is one of the most delicious things you can do to your vegetables.
Oh yeah. So do we have any other questions, or
I don't think so. Laura says that some breeders do offer a waiting list. So if you're thinking about looking into getting geese, whether that's Sebastopols or other breeds, you can contact your local breeder and see if they offer a wait list and talk to them about getting started. It's always a good idea to find a local person who is can be your mentor or help you get started.
Yeah, and if you want to support the work that is the good work that's being done to promote and conserve breeds like the Sebastopol, please do join the Livestock Conservancy. Members get to free listings in our animals and products directory, and you get free classified ads and support some great work being done out there.
Absolutely. And that ties into our question from Colleen. Thanks for joining us today. We're so glad you're here. She said, is there a breeder's list somewhere? And you can find a breeder's list on our website, livestockconservancy.com. And you just go down to our breeders and products directory, and you can put what you're looking for and your zip code in, and you can find one or a person close to you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for that great question. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for us today. Thank you, Jeanette, for that wonderful plug about becoming a member. If you're not a member and you want to support more work, so please become either a conservation champion, which you can do for $4 a month, or become a Livestock Conservancy member. I don't know. I had a brain fart.
Well, I want to personally thank Laura for letting us grill her at the show. I don't know if she knew what she was getting into, but we love to throw loads of questions at people that know what they're doing. And it was a great pleasure interviewing you out there. And thank you for letting us take up so much of your time. I know you were busy at your table, but we really appreciate you coming out and talking with us.
Yes, it was so much fun. We loved it. I loved it so much. She let me hold a goose. I got so excited. And now I want my own. And big thanks to all of our members and supporters who already make it possible for us to do shows like this and continue the work of conserving rare breed geese. Thank you to Mana Pro for sponsoring Goose Chats today. We appreciate you. And tune in next week. We're going to be talking about Roman tufted geese with Nate Reinish, who is another master breeder. Very excited to talk to him about those. Anything else I'm forgetting or missing, Jeanette?
I think we're good. And yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to him because I actually have a Roman goose in my freezer right now. So
yay. It's going to be so tasty.
I know.
Well, we hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again next week. Bye.
Bye.